So if most people, or maybe even everyone that you're drawing into your world is emotionally unavailable, that's a mirrored reflection of your own emotional state. You are unavailable yourself.
For myself, I feel like the longer relationships I've had, like I wasn't intimate with them until like maybe a couple months down the road. And so you kind of get to know.
Too.
Yeah.
Dude, I think that's like kind of one of the, if not the biggest demon in the room. I mean, it's not to say that like alcohol isn't a problem, party drugs aren't a problem, dating apps don't have their downsides, of course. Mm-hmm. But like porn, that's one of those where there's like virtually no upside to it, and there are massive downsides.
Hey man, this guy's a wealth of knowledge over here.
This is great. This is great.
Dude, I appreciate it.
I'm honestly learning so much.
I am like, just
my mind is
blown
here. This is amazing.
This is great. Oh man. All right, well, let's get into it. Devin Schirm, dude, I appreciate you coming on. Oh, first of all, welcome to the Table for One podcast. Like and subscribe if you would. That would help us out tremendously. You are our first guest who is not single. So we're not here to spotlight a singleness of you. You are here because you're a dating coach. And so we're going to get some insight and maybe help all of the folk out there. So we appreciate you coming on. I guess I just got a couple questions real quick. How old are you?
34, just turned.
34, okay, yeah. Awesome. And then you're originally from where?
Los Angeles area.
Okay.
Manhattan Beach born, grew up in the Redondo Beach, like Palos Verdes area, okay. Lived in Orange County for 10 years. And then I moved out here to Boulder, Colorado about a year and a half ago.
Okay. Is the hometown on fire right now? Or?
No,
okay.
Thankfully.
Okay.
No, yeah, my parents they're about an hour south.
Okay.
Of all the chaos.
And then it doesn't look like they're going to get hit by anything? Or?
No, I mean, the only way they'd get hit is if it swept through LA proper and everything in between.
Okay. And then what brought you here then, or to Boulder area?
Yeah, I originally, this was summer of 2021 or 2, good buddy, actually kind of mutual friend, he was moving out to Boston to go to piano tuning school, of all places. Yeah.
That's a school.
Seriously, yeah, there's only 2 schools in the country. One is in Boston, I forget where the other one is, but he's moving out to Boston, and I wanted to kind of go out with him and help him set up his apartment and do everything. So it's going to be a 10-day trip, and the first 5 days we're like, hey, let's do a stop off in Denver. It's the midpoint. I've never been. I've always wanted to go. I'm a big, like, mountain woods. I want to just take advantage of it this summer. So we stopped off in Denver. We did like a day Denver, Colorado Springs, day out in Vail, and then we did a day up in Boulder. And as I was there, I was like, something about this just kind of calls me. Like, I don't know what it is. I just want to end up here. So that was really what drew me there. And then worked on scaling my business up to a point of stability. And when I was able to financially justify it, I made the move out there a little bit ago.
There we go. And you're enjoying it.
I am.
Okay. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of want to get into the dating coach stuff, maybe like a little bit of background, or just hearing more so like a little backstory about why you started as a dating coach and hear that from you.
Yeah. So, how far back do you want to go? You want the short story long or the long story short?
Hey, we got time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So, dating is not my natural strength at all. I'm just not. I'm naturally like very introverted, pretty shy. I grew up like really small, really skinny. So that also made me even more insecure around male friends and especially women. Like I didn't think I was, attracted to women at all. So I just avoided dating for a long time. And then university rolled around. I'm going to college. I'm like, okay, I can reinvent myself, become who I want to be. And I just kind of became like a monk in the gym, just bodybuilding hardcore for the first 3.5, 4 years. And put on a bunch of weight, looked like a totally different person. And all of a sudden women are looking at me differently, treating me differently. And so, it's like, well, let's make up for lost time kind of thing. Yeah. Like I want to take advantage of this now. So I did a metric ton of dating. And I think most guys, like when you're first getting to dating, you fall down like the red pill rabbit hole, the manosphere rabbit hole. Mm-hmm. Like I kind of went the pickup artist rabbit hole. Like I went down all of those different avenues. And I'm practicing this on the college campus, approaching women and stuff, and started to figure out dating at like a superficial level, very superficial. And then that kind of evolved to the point where buddies would ask me for help. and they would be like, hey, can we go to lunch for an hour? I'll just buy you lunch, but can I ask you some questions of just basic stuff? Like, where do I go? What do we talk about? How do I escalate things physically? Like, we talk about that kind of stuff. And that's how I kind of got doing this, like, part-time. And then I worked a series of couple, like, corporate jobs and tried to do my own thing, a couple other business ideas that didn't work. And one day, it was like early 2019, I was sitting there and, like, I know I have to do my own thing. I just don't know what to do business-wise. And I had two friends, one guy, one girl, didn't know each other. Both separately suggest, why don't you just do dating and relationship coaching, but full-time? You've already done this part-time for 5 years. Why don't you just make it a full-time thing? So I thought, okay, I guess you guys are seeing something about me that I'm not. So that's when I decided to go full-time, and that was June 2019, so about 5.5 years ago.
Okay. Nice. Yeah. And you said you went through like the gauntlet of every stereotype.
Oh, totally.
And, you know, a little insecure, and then you know, went on dating, dates after date after date. And then ultimately emotional, healthy person. Why
Hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, well,
Try to be.
You know, we all hope and aspire to that, right? Yeah. But why? Because you could have went the other way, you know?
Sure.
You could have been like, you know, many of the men in Denver and not aspire to be that. Why try to advance yourself emotionally and happier, healthier?
That's a great question. I mean, to be fair, I have been that guy. I mean, it started off insecure, and then
we all have been.
Yeah, for sure. And then I was the kind of the nightmarish D-bag for a while, for a few years, for sure. And it was eventually what it was for me was it was a very humbling life experience. So it was right about that June 2019. For the last 3 or 4 years before that, I'd lived with two couples. So we had a 3-bedroom place. I was in a single room. There was a couple in the master and a couple in the other room. And both those couples are now married, one of which has kids. And so I was living with two couples, watching their relationships progress. Despite the whole time I was single, just, you know, kind of living a bit of a party,
right,
degen lifestyle, just a little bit.
Nice.
And
welcome to the club.
Yeah, exactly. And it was June 2019, and our living situation was changing. They're moving to their own place. They're moving into their own place. And my business was not, I was just starting it, didn't have any money at all. And so I had to move back in with my parents, who I have a great relationship with now, but at the time didn't have the best relationship with. I had, you know, some unresolved stuff that I hadn't worked through yet. And it's like I'm starting my business, which is the hardest thing I've ever done. And I'm living with my parents as like an almost 29, 30-year-old man. So that's, you know, not where you want to be. I'm too ashamed to bring women back home to my parents' house. So I just stopped dating entirely. And I just really doubled down on building out my business and doing a bunch of the emotional inner work that I had been procrastinating on for the last 10 plus years by that point. And repairing the relationship with my parents and really focusing in on, like, I've done a ton of dating, more than anyone I know, and yet it's never worked for me. Okay. So I'm the common denominator here. Like, what am I doing? There's something off about me that I have to figure out. And that was really the catalyst. And it was just a humbling situation to see my buddies, like, serious relationships, married, buying homes, and here I am, single, living with my parents, broke.
Yeah.
And that was just the drive to, like, get your life together and do the work.
You mentioned inner workings, right?
Yeah.
And trying to better yourself. I mean, what if somebody was trying to go down that path? What would you recommend for them? You know, if they are also the common denominator, what would you recommend advice to give to them?
Depends on where they're starting from.
Yeah.
Okay. Because not everyone is at the same level of self-awareness or outward experience with the opposite sex or out in the dating world. Some people, you've probably heard the term like shadow work before, right? Where that's where you're becoming more aware of the full spectrum of your personality, and you're becoming more aware, in particular, of your negative qualities and the aspects of yourself that are probably turning other people off. Everyone's got kind of a different point where it comes to what kind of shadow work do you need to be doing. Some people need to do shadow work around what was your childhood like and your upbringing, and do you hold on to pain or resentment from that you need to process and grieve and let go of. Some people need to do shadow work around their perception of the opposite sex and, like, the belief that all men are cheaters, or all women are hypergamous and just looking for the next best option. Like, you have to do your work around that. Some people, it's you got to do shadow work around who even are you? I mean, have you ever asked yourself, and like, are you just following what your society or your culture, your family expects of you, like the well-trodden path? But is that actually who you are and what you want? And in the process of self-inquiry and asking yourself those questions, you can start to figure out, like, who am I actually? And what is it that I truly want or don't want? So it's tough for me to say, like, just do this simple thing
It's
inner
not a
work
quick
wise,
fix.
because you got to figure out where's that person starting from. But any of those areas will be fruitful.
Okay. What was interesting when I was looking at your page and some of your videos too, so I feel like men and women operate totally different, you know, just like it's hard to understand. So I feel like you're kind of like helping bridge the gap. And so that was interesting, but you know, they want to find a partner and their dream partner as well. But to start that, you're almost working with them just on themselves first. You know, it's not what they should be doing, but it's like you have to look inside first, which was very interesting, I thought.
Kind of depends. For the most part, yes, I am in agreement on that. A lot of clients, they kind of fall into one of two camps, I've noticed. So I do work with men and women, but predominantly women, 95% women at this point. And they tend to fall into one of two camps. There is either the camp that is doing a ton of dating, and they have no issues attracting men. They have no issues getting dates. It's just not converting into that serious right relationship with the right person. The other camp is the ones who they are not going out on dates. They're not putting themselves out there. They're maybe too much of a homebody or a bit too introverted. And both require an oppositional approach. The ones who are already doing a ton of dating, it's just not working, and they feel like they're bashing their head against the dating wall. Mm-hmm. Usually what they need to do is take 2 steps back, do that inner work, come back to themselves, self-align, and then that's what frees them up to then take 10 steps forward way more effectively out in the dating world. The other group that is already doing a bunch of the inner work, and they probably know themselves pretty well, a lot of them need some encouragement, and I need to walk shoulder to shoulder with them to help get them back out into the world to apply what they've already been working on for years. So it really depends on which camp they're in. So that'd be, I guess, a question your listeners or your viewers would ask, be like, am I already banging my head against the dating wall and it's just not working? In which case the solution is probably inward. Or am I just not putting myself out there? In which case the solution is probably outward.
Okay. You're essentially like the ops for like fuck boys, because like you're giving all the secrets away. Like, this is how guys think. Like, this is why they're doing this, you know. But hey, I wanted to get into some questions, you know, because I feel like to help people at least. I mean, this is a more of insightful. It's not going to be as much silly time. Like, yeah, we like a joke here and there.
Hey, we can still be silly time.
Okay, it's silly time. It's still silly time. We're having a drink. We're having a good time. But so I guess the first question is, how important is it to find somebody with the same core values as you?
Oh, like ridiculously important.
Okay.
Yeah, we were as we were all chatting before coming on here. A lot of people they have a specific list of what they think they want in a partner. Most people you talk to, like, you'll ask them, like, well, what do you want in a partner? And they can probably list off 20, 30, 50 items of like what they think they want. But the problem is, like, that's trying to control the outcome, and it's usually trying to force a specific outcome. And I don't know how like abstract, esoteric you want to get with this, but what you think you want isn't always what you need. Those are two like completely different things. So usually the better approach to, you know, make sure you're in alignment with someone is figuring out, like, what is it that you don't want, and ensuring that that person isn't breaking those don't want deal breakers. And that's a much better indication of, are you guys aligned on those core values perspectives? But yeah, having those, I mean, it depends, like, I guess, what your goal is.
Okay.
If you're in the headspace of, you're like, dude, I just want to date casually. I just want to meet a bunch of people. I want to get some experience. I want to have some fun. Probably not that important. Just go sample. I've certainly been there myself. You go sample, you try a bunch of different people, different personality types, different like backgrounds. And that's how you learn more about yourself, if that's what your goal is. But if your goal is, I'm looking for the right relationship with the right person, that is going to be the long haul. Like, I'm thinking serious relationship, marriage, family. If that's what your goal is, then those core values are, you can't drop those.
Okay. Do you have like kind of a most common problem people bring to you that you see over and over again? And if so, what would that be?
I mean, there's a few of them. So one big common one is, this one's for the ladies, is if they're sleeping with guys quickly.
Yeah.
I know this is not, I'm not reinventing the wheel by sharing this information. Like if you would have asked grandma or certainly great grandma, like, what's your take on being intimate with a man? It'd be like, hold off on being intimate with a man until, they would have said probably marriage in the day. I don't know if you have to go that far, but a serious committed relationship. And time and time again, like most of my clients that come to me, there is some guy in their life that they're hooked on. And he's not the right guy for them. And they know he's not the right guy, logically. But emotionally, their heart is hooked on this guy. And the problem that they run into is because, well, if they were intimate with this guy, it's really hard to, I think men and women can both get hooked from being intimate, but women, especially if they're feminine at their core, even more so.
It's an emotional tie.
It's a very, it's a very strong emotional tie for them. And that's what ends up really bonding them to a guy prematurely. And it's oftentimes the wrong guy. And they'll come to me and it's like, I'm trying to find the right man, but I can't stop thinking about this guy. Or I'm trying to find the right man, but this guy is still in my life. Can I have him as a friends with benefits while I'm looking for the right guy? And it's like, we gotta unhook you from this guy. And we gotta basically detox you off your addiction to this guy. Okay. If you're addicted to this guy, you're not going to attract and find the right man for you. Okay. And that's a really common problem.
Yeah, I guess, and maybe, too much information, but like for myself, I feel like the longer relationships I've had, like I wasn't intimate with them until like maybe a couple months down the road. And so you kind of get to know. Too. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
I guess, common themes that we keep hearing is that, no men approach women these days. Do you think it's like a generational thing, or, is there, what is that? What is that? And is there help for the people? Is there help?
For sure. There's a lot of reasons for that. Okay. I'm not going to try to go rant too hard on this one, but part of it is generational. So it's just, you've got apps now, and you've got online dating, and you've got all of these types of things that make it so much easier to meet such a greater quantity of women. So then the prospect of like walking up to a strange woman who might horribly reject me in humiliating fashion publicly seems a lot less appealing than the comfort of swiping from my phone on my couch, right? Like it's so much harder. So there's a lot of guys who are going to shy away from that and take the easier route. Whereas previous generations, you had no apps. There was no alternative. Like you had to pick up your balls and walk up to her. That was your only option. So part of it was like the strength came from necessity, I guess. The confidence came from necessity. I also think there's a lot of other reasons. I don't want to start ranting about like lower testosterone levels. So a lot of men are less confident, assertive, aggressive in general compared to previous generations. Combined with, social side of things of like a lot of guys are terrified of being humiliated publicly, or there's video cameras now. Everyone's got a camera. Like so they're worried about
the number one fear in guys is in a public humiliation.
Public humiliation, like ending up as some TikTok fails and you get blasted in front of millions of people that you don't know. It's just so it's like I'm just not going to take the risk. It's safer from my phone, and then I think both sexes lose as a result.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we hear from a lot of gals on here, and they're saying, "Just somebody, please come up to me."
Totally.
That's how you can be an outlier. I feel like so,
if you're a guy, you can actually do that in this generation. You're so far ahead of the competition; it's not even funny.
Yeah.
You have basically no competition at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like really anything. I feel like you could look at somebody and or even introducing yourself and like, I saw you from across the bar. I don't know. Totally. I feel like it doesn't necessarily have to be.
What you say doesn't matter.
Yeah.
People fixate on the lines. Like, I have to have the specific approach. It's like, dude, you think about like if you ever did approach a woman, do you remember what you said to her?
No, it was something stupid. Obviously.
It was probably something stupid.
It's always something stupid if I'm doing it.
Yeah. And you don't remember the specifics of it. Yeah. All it is just the initiating of the conversation. She's not going to remember what it is either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are some steps they could take to build that confidence up? It's affirmations. It's like actually just taking the leap. Like I guess it's no quick fix, but
again, no quick fix, but two things. One would be inner and one would be outer. So inner would be the relationship you have with yourself and the confidence that you have in yourself. One area that I would start, like if it was a male client, let's say, would be can you look yourself in the eyes in the mirror, and can you talk to yourself directly and confidently? And can you actually open your own heart to yourself while talking to yourself in the mirror? And this is a big tool that I walk, all of my clients, men and women, through. But that's a huge point to being able to integrate your personality and become more of who you actually are, like the real, the confident, the authentic, clear version of yourself. And if you're that, generally speaking, that's also going to translate out into the world. So that would be on the inner side. And the outer side is practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
There's no getting around it. Like, if you want to get good at talking to women, you just have to talk to women.
Yeah.
And
that's the hard part.
That's the hard part. And you're going to look stupid plenty of times. You're going to make a mistake. I've been there. Like, you look back on some of the interactions, you're like, oh, you kind of just cringe about it. But you're like, hold on, I don't need to bash myself for this. Like, I had to make those stupid mistakes to get better at doing it.
Yeah.
She probably doesn't remember. And if she does, well, maybe she gets a laugh out of it. So it's not a big deal,
Yeah, she could go tell her friends, and
and they all get a laugh about it.
Everybody gets
fine.
I'll go tell my friends how horribly it was terrible. It was terrible, and they all laugh, and so that's enjoyable. This is kind of switching a little bit, but advice for people that are having a hard time getting over a breakup.
Yeah, say a client came to me and she's having an issue getting over the breakup. Okay, so first thing would be, stop sleeping with this person if you're still in physical contact with this person. That's the most blatantly obvious one. You're not, was this, Dua Lipa said this? You're not getting over them if you're under them.
We love a Dua Lipa.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. That's true. That is a lyric.
Quoting the modern sage of the age. But
there you go.
Yeah, just you can make sure you're not being intimate with this person. It's almost so obvious, but sometimes you got to mention it. That's the first one. Stop being physical with them. The second one would be limit your interactions with them. Taper down. Are you stalking their Instagram stories? Are you texting them? Are you still following this person, trying to get updates on their life? The more you make the internal decision of I have to let this person go. Yeah. And this is what is in my best interest. And a lot of that, it just comes down to, it's a single decision. It's just a decision. It's the decision to quit getting blackout drunk 3 nights a week. There's the decision to quit smoking up every single day. A lot of it is a decision. It's a hard decision, but it's a well worth one that you will respect yourself and you will feel far better, and you're doing future you a service for making that choice.
Yeah. And it is a little bit of sadness every time you see a story of a guy
for sure.
who just broke up. You're just I need to stop following this person right away.
Hey, if what you need to do for the time being is, if you need to block the person, and maybe you're worried, I don't want to block them because they're going to think I'm weird, or they're going to think I'm oh yeah, she's mad, or he's heard about it. It's who cares? You're doing this for you. This is maybe what you have to do for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So, breaking it off with somebody, are there, and you don't quite know if it's the right time. Are there signs that you should recognize that you should know, hey, it's time for me to be done?
Yeah, so the big ones would be are you experiencing abuse of any variety? Whatever that would look like, whether it's horrific verbal abuse arguments that are you're throwing stuff at each other and it's getting terrible, or physical or sexual abuse or anything like that. Those are just, the very big ones. I think every situation is going to look different. Everyone's got their own level of tolerance. Everyone's got their own level of this is a major problem for me, but for someone else, they're doesn't really bother me, but this is a problem for me. So it's tough to say. You mentioned sorry, can you rephrase your question? It was, what are the major warning signs?
Signs that, because it's hard when you're in a relationship, right? You're hey, maybe we try to work this out, or maybe there's red flags that are hitting you right in the face, but you're so emotionally attached, and it's something that's right in front of you. But are there stuff that you should just be aware of that hey, it's time. It was time 2 months ago.
Yeah, so other big ones is, can you trust this person?
Yeah.
Have they betrayed your trust seriously? That's, if you don't, trust is the bedrock foundation of any relationship, romantic, platonic, a coworker, your boss. If you don't trust this person, it's very hard, maybe even impossible, to be in a relationship with them. So if they've broken your trust significantly, or let alone repeatedly broken your trust, and that's not something that you guys are able to talk about and work through or overcome, probably a pretty big issue. in addition to like if there was the abuse side of things, also a pretty big issue. Then you could also take a look at like, this is a bit more abstract and hard to pinpoint. You'd probably have to see this over a longer period of time, but it would be, what is the emotional state that you're in with this person? Like, do you feel significantly better when you're not around them?
Yeah.
Or do you generally feel better with them? And this doesn't mean you're not going to argue from time to time, or you're going to have your disagreements, or they're going to piss you off, of course. But like, generally speaking, if like they're gone for the weekend, do you feel phenomenal when they're gone? Or do you kind of like miss them a little bit, and like generally speaking, your life is better with them around?
Yeah. Healthiest way to break up. I guess it would just kind of probably be breaking up, this isn't going to work out. I mean, do you have any
direct conversation? Direct conversation. Yeah, I think a lot of people will try to do the
sidestep maybe.
For sure. They try to go around it, or they try to, they protract it over a longer period of time, or it's like, well, we're going to be friends. Like, I don't recommend that.
Yeah.
That will
Sounds
just
awful.
That just prolongs the grieving process, and now you're hooked on this person, but you've got even less of them than you had before, but you're not now free to move on to someone else, and so you're like stuck in this limbo. It's not. Don't try to remain friends.
Yeah.
Don't try to like sidestep around. It's like, this is not working for either of us, and for your own best interest and mine.
Okay.
I think we need to part ways.
Direct.
And you're kind of recommending like no contact whatsoever.
For the most part, yeah. Like 95 times out of 100.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the most part.
What about that five?
The five would probably, the exceptions to that would be like, you have kids together.
Yeah.
What are you going to no contact the mother of your children? I mean, you don't have a choice in that matter, kind of thing. So you got to find a way to work through that, and that's going to be its own complication. But other than that, for the most part, probably no contact. It will probably be more painful initially, but it'll facilitate the healing process so much faster. And you might only have 3, 6, 9 months to heal rather than years. How often have you seen, like, maybe you've experienced this personally, where you've got a girlfriend or an ex-girlfriend, and an ex-boyfriend from years ago is still watching her stories on Instagram or texting her on occasion or doing things like that. And they broke up 3 years ago, 5 years ago, and the guy still slides into her messages from time to time, seeing like, hey, I was thinking about you the other day. Oof. Just want to see how you're doing. It's like, that's a guy who, it's like, dude, you didn't make the decision to like let her go.
That's a block. You got to block it.
You really do. She really does have to. But like, you make the decision to let him go. And he just never made that mental decision, and he's tried to remain in contact. And here we are 3 years on, still kind of hooked on her and hasn't let her go emotionally.
Right.
Because he hasn't closed contact for himself.
Yeah, there's always a little bit of a door open for, I feel like, guys especially too, that are trying and like, hey, what's up? Like, hey, I'll message you here, and you might think it's about something else, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's like it's
not.
Definitely not. 100% of the times it's not. I guess situationships. We've all been in one. Maybe she doesn't want to commit. Maybe he doesn't want to commit. I feel like somebody always ends up getting hurt. But why are they so fun?
Because you get all the fun with none of the responsibility.
That's true.
You get, and also too, I had a situationship for probably like a year and a half. Yeah. Ironically, like one of the longer relationships that I've had, it just was never committed, and we didn't have titles or anything. And a big part of that was like, it's really good sex. The intimacy is good. It's fun, and but it's convenient.
Yeah.
That's what it is. There's no like, oh, she's in a bad place and like I have to show up for her. Okay. Or he's in a bad place and I have to do something that's now inconvenient for me, but I'm putting someone else before myself. Like, you get all of the fun of a relationship without any of the responsibility. And that's why it's very appealing, but it's also ultimately, at least I found for myself, is hollow and meaningless. Yeah. And you miss out on a lot of the deeper levels of intimacy that you would have with an actual committed relationship.
Detrimental overall.
Yeah, I would say so. I can't totally knock it because, I did it. It was an integral part of my learning experience. She was a great woman. I did learn a lot from her, and I appreciated my time with her. But at the same time, as far as like, would that be, if I didn't have my current partner, let's say, would that be advantageous to me right now? Probably not.
Okay.
Yeah, knowing what I know now.
Okay. There is intuition, that little voice in your head. Some
Yeah.
people call it God. I mean, why do we never listen to that? It's always,
Because it's harder.
yeah.
It's harder to listen to that voice. That voice usually tells you something that you don't necessarily want to hear.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's kind of what it is, right? If you're thinking of like God and the devil, God probably is giving you the harder road, and the devil gives you the easy road. Like maybe you've heard the phrase like the road to heaven feels like hell. The road to hell feels like heaven.
Right.
Right? It's usually the voice that's trying to warn you and guide you to something better.
Yeah.
Probably leading you on the harder road that you don't want to face, or it requires you to overcome your fears or do something challenging or whatever that is. And who wants to listen to that? That's harder,
I feel
right?
like anything worth striving for, it's you have to go through a lot of turmoil, and it is hard. It's
Completely
not easy.
agree.
And if it's easy, it's not worth it.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
So how do we stop attracting emotionally unavailable people?
Yeah, I mean the big secret to this one is you have to become emotionally available yourself.
Okay.
That's what it is. There is no other way around this. Like you are your own. You exist in your own world here.
Yeah.
So if most people, or maybe even everyone that you're drawing into your world, is emotionally unavailable, that's a mirrored reflection of your own emotional state. Of you are unavailable yourself. You're probably not aware of it. Like most clients that come to me who are emotionally unavailable don't actually think they're emotionally unavailable.
Right.
Most people I want a serious relationship. I want a committed relationship. That's what I want. And that's what they think they want. That's what the conscious mind wants. But you get down into the subconscious mind and all of a sudden it's like, but I don't feel like good men exist.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like I deserve a healthy relationship. But I have resentment towards my father, and so I don't trust men. But I'm still hooked on my ex. But I'm still in love with a guy from 5 years ago who I think was the one who got away, and I'll never find a man like him again. Those are all stories that are going on in the background that are going to override you telling yourself, I want a healthy and fulfilling relationship. And these are all making you emotionally unavailable. And so then the kinds of men that you're going to draw into your life are men who are going to match those subconscious stories that are going on down here. Because that's really the more powerful narrative that's being played in the background. And it's probably not something you're entirely aware of.
Yeah. How do you overcome them?
Inner work.
Inner work.
Yep.
Okay.
And then outer application within healthy relationship dynamics with men that you're dating, or especially a relationship. I mean, this whole notion of like, you're on your inner work, your healing journey. You don't have to be fully healed before you start dating. I think a lot of people, they fall into a trap where some people are like doing no healing at all and trying to bash their head against the dating wall. I did that for 10 years, didn't work. And then you fall into the trap of, I also fell into this trap where I was a monk for 4 years, totally celibate, living with my parents, not doing any dating at all. All I did was inner work and building my business. And I did like very limited social interaction. And there's kind of this thought that like, I need to fully heal myself before I'm ready to date again. It's like, dude, you can't.
Yeah. How do you fully heal yourself?
It's impossible.
We'd all be great.
Yeah. Everyone would be like Christ themselves walking around,
yeah,
essentially.
It'd be
Saints. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. It's just not going to happen. So you do enough of the inner work that you're reasonably stable and you've worked through some of the more obvious baggage, let's say.
Okay.
And then you put yourself back out there and you face your fears and you have those hard conversations and you learn within a container with another person.
Okay.
Stage 1, stage 2.
Okay. Okay. Do people ever really change? Like that's the thing. I feel like people get into, they get in a relationship and they're hoping something's going to happen or something different's going to happen. I mean, do we just accept them for who they are? I mean, you can want the best for people, right? And you can help them along with that. But if there's things you see in the beginning, do people ever really change?
If they have a growth mindset, they can.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of people don't have growth mindsets, and that's why they will probably not change. But for those people who, I mean, let's take you for example. I mean, would you say you've changed over the last 5 years or 10 years?
Immensely.
Yeah. Like you're probably how many iterations different than you were? Like you're like 10 people different, 7 people different or something, right? And that's because like you have a growth mindset. You're oriented towards improving yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, right? So you're on that path of self-growth, your inner journey, whatever that journey looks like for you, your own subjective experience of that.
You're giving me a lot of credit here. But I appreciate it. You know, making me look good.
My pleasure, man. Yeah, if you're following that journey,
Yeah.
right? Like you've grown and changed, and yeah, I mean, maybe it is a minority of people who are on that same journey, but there are people who are on that, and maybe that's what you're looking for as well. Then yeah, you both can change together and grow together in a positive way.
Okay. And like I said, you want your partner to be their best selves. Like what's the correct way to encourage somebody to do that if, you know, from the opposite sex?
Patiently, like very slowly.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of times, you know, you can see the potential in your partner. You can see who it is that they could be. And maybe they are making progress towards that, or they're taking actions in that directions, but it's really easy to get impatient when they're not becoming that person, or when they're not exactly that person already, especially if you see the potential. It's not like, yeah, especially if you see the potential. So I think a lot of people, it's easy to fall into that, like, I want to criticize my partner into changing or being better in that way.
Yeah, I've done that too, and it's, you know, I went about it the wrong way. It's like little digs here and there, and that just
Never works.
Never works, and it's just the wrong
Criticism
thing to
just
do.
kills growth. It kills love.
Yeah.
It's you encourage your partner in that way, and you enable them to feel like you still love them and you respect them, whether they're going to change in that way or not. You can let them know it's like, hey, it's my preference if you were to grow in this way and I would grow in this way as well, and we can grow in that way together, and that would be amazing. But I still want you to know that I love you regardless. And that way they know it's like, this isn't coming from a place of criticism or judgment. And then you're very patiently waiting for them as they're going along that journey, and you give them positive reinforcement as they're going along that path.
Okay. Hey man, this guy's a wealth of knowledge over here.
This is great. This is
insane.
great.
Dude,
I feel
I
like
appreciate
I'm honestly learning so much.
I am like
just
my mind is
being here.
blown
This
over
is
here.
this is amazing.
This is great. Oh man, all right. Well, we got you for a little bit longer here. So, advice for people that despise dating. You know, they've been burned too many times. They have no more emotional energy to put out.
Yep.
That's how they feel.
Yeah, I've been there a few times. Stop. If you're hating dating, you just need to take a break. You just have to stop for time being. Like if you're truly, I mean, yeah, because if you're hating dating that much, that's, again, getting all esoteric. That's basically your soul telling you that like there's something seriously out of alignment here, and you're trying to force an outcome. Maybe you're dating with far too many expectations. Maybe you're dating in a way that's not in alignment with the kind of life you want to live. Like maybe, let's say you're an introverted person, but you're forcing yourself to go out to the bars 5 nights a week because, I got to meet someone.
Yeah.
But you hate that. It's like, well, like, how's that going to work out in the long run, right? Like, so if you're truly hating the process, that's your own soul telling you like, this is not working for us. So usually the best strategy is you stop, you take 2 steps back, and you reassess. And you figure out like, where am I going wrong? What about this is out of alignment for me? What about this is like an incompatible with my lifestyle or who I want to be? You got to figure that out. I don't have the answer for that. That's you, right? Your own subjective journey. But once you figure that out, then you're able to put yourself back out there in a way that's actually in congruence with who you are and who you want to be. And then you're able to rock it off and you can take 10 steps forward.
Okay. Well, okay, so kind of on another note here, sometimes guys are terrible, you know, players, womanizers, guys that say something, you know, they want something serious, but then they just want to sleep with you, you know?
Yeah.
Want to hook up, you know, and that's probably fine if like the woman kind of just wants to hook up, but if you're trying to find something serious, like what are those red flags in the beginning that you can kind of sift through? Or somebody should look out for right away to know this guy is a player.
If a woman trying to...
woman trying to...
inconsistency is the biggest one.
Okay.
So if he's hot and heavy, saying all the right things one day, and then you just don't hear from him for 5 days or something, emotionally inconsistent.
Okay.
Maybe you've heard the phrase, consistency is king. Now, generally speaking, when women think of a mature, emotionally available, commitment-oriented man, that's a guy who, from like archetype perspective, is a guy who's embodying his king energy.
Yeah.
Right. And so what a lot of women are looking for is a guy who's ready to be a king. He's ready to be a king and build a kingdom with her and to be a leader within his space and a father, if that's what she's looking for. You're looking for a king. And if you're looking for a king, the best quality of a king is consistency.
Okay.
In the same way, like if you're walking around, you look on the hillside and there's a castle on the hill. The castle's always there. You know where the castle is. You know what hill it's on. The walls are stable. It provides a fortification. It's consistent. You can always rely on it being there. And that's what a mature, masculine, kingly man is. So the more consistent a man is, A, the more mature he is probably as a man, and B, the more invested and interested in you as a woman he likely is, because he wants to show up as that man for you. If he's inconsistent, it's either he's A, not very emotionally mature, he just hasn't reached that stage of his life yet, or B, he doesn't want to show up as that man for you because he doesn't see you as the princess he wants to be that guy for.
Yeah, that hurts. Yeah,
it is what it is. Like, it's just, so a lot of times if you're a lady listening to this, like, it's not your job to convince a man to show up as the king. It's not your job to convince him to see you as the queen. It's your job to sift out the men who aren't ready to be that guy and to filter in the guy who is already that or wants to be that for you. That is the path. It's not about convincing a guy who doesn't want to be that to see you as that. You just find the guy who's already there for you.
Okay. Isaac, you wanna? I know you had a couple.
I got a few questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
I would love to hear your thoughts on the marriage decline. So I've got a few stats. In 1990, there were average of 9.8 marriages per 1,000 people. The average marriage age was 26 years for men, 22 for women. Come to 2023, it is now 6.2 marriages per 1,000 people. On average, men are getting married at 30 and women at 28. What are your thoughts on that, and what equated to that?
Yeah, few thoughts that come to mind. I mean, one is for better or for worse, there's been a decline in certain kinds of spiritual or religious values. So in previous generations, there was probably more of an emphasis on a certain religious perspective and community values, and with what comes with that, with family and spiritual values, is higher rates of marriage, generally speaking. But that's not the only reason. You also look at economic. So I was talking to my dad a few months ago about this, and because I'm approaching the age how old he was when he had me. He was about 35 when he had me.
Okay.
And this was, I guess, when was I born? 1990. So adjusted for inflation, and I could be wrong about this, maybe my math was incorrect, but adjusted for inflation, his dollar had more or less twice the purchasing power that my dollar has. Twice. That's adjusted for inflation. Twice the economic power. So if you're a guy back then, 35 years ago, a whole generation and a half ago, it's a lot easier to feel emotionally ready and be able to provide for yourself, for your woman, for a family, economically back then than it is now. It's arguably twice as hard now to be in that economically stable position as a man. And I can tell you, like, firsthand experience, when you're making money as a guy, you feel way more powerful. You feel way more successful. You feel you want to show up in a more mature way. You're like, I have leverage, I have power, and now I want to share this. I want to share this with a woman. I want to share this with a future family because you are empowered as a man. When you're broke, you're not looking to like provide for a woman because, like, dude, I can't even provide for myself. Like, I can't even pay my own rent. So how am I supposed to like provide for a wife and kids? It's just like, it's out of the realm of possibility. And so, yeah, economically, that's like a huge thing. It's like, economically, the economy is not what it was a generation and certainly two ago. I mean, here's another example on that. Like, think about, the classic, like, grandpa's example. Grandpa worked like a blue-collar job in the factory, and on that one income, grandma could stay home, had a house, had a car, had 2 kids, and that was off like one income blue-collar job.
Yeah.
And now you need 2 incomes to be maybe at that level.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. So I think there's a lot of guys, certainly in our age demography, who just haven't quite made it yet. And arguably, we have it easier in the sense that we've got the internet and we have certain opportunities that our parents never had or couldn't even think about. But we also have a disadvantage in the sense that, yeah, but it's also more economically competitive in that way than it was before, and it's not the same financial situation that it was a generation ago.
Yeah.
I think that's playing a part.
Yeah.
He's got another good question because Isaac's always tugging on it in his room. Sometimes I feel like I got to go in there and
tugging on it.
Yeah, get him off of that thing. But he had a good porn question for you.
Oh. Okay, yeah, that was actually another follow-up question. So yeah, I mean, wow. What an intro to this question.
Welcome to the podcast.
I had to get something serious.
I guess, yeah, we got to get one joke on this episode. No, that is another question to follow up. So I personally have fully cut out porn. I've found like in my phases in it, it just really messes with your brain and, your lustful thoughts and your view on women. What are your thoughts on the effect of porn in modern day dating?
Massive. Dude, I think that's like kind of one of the, if not the biggest demon in the room. I mean, it's not to say that like alcohol isn't a problem, party drugs aren't a problem, dating apps don't have their downsides, of course. Mm-hmm. But like porn, that's one of those where there's like virtually no upside to it, and there are massive downsides. And I think like in the modern age, as weird as this might sound, like in modern age, I think fully quitting porn might be like the rite of passage for men to approach mature masculinity. In previous generations, that wasn't necessarily the case. You didn't have porn. That wasn't something you had to deal with. Mm-hmm.
So grab a magazine from your uncle or something.
That was your only option, right? Yeah. And it was just kind of transitioning from boyhood, adolescence into like manhood was maybe a bit more clear cut, or it was just like you just get your job and you're good. Whereas now, I mean, the thing with porn is like you think about it, it's like it's a drug, but it's a drug you can access 24/7 for free in your pocket at all times. That's like the heroin addict who can reach into their pocket and pull out heroin for free anytime they want. Like that's quite a temptation that virtually every man has to experience. Like that's a really significant hurdle that's hurting a lot of intimacy in a lot of relationships. If you're beaten off to all sorts of like pixels and like fake women, like you're just less driven for your actual woman or to approach a woman if you're not currently in a relationship with one. So yeah, I mean, first off, freaking good on you for overcoming that, man. Like that's a massive hurdle to overcome, but that's also a massive step towards mature masculinity, is to be able to make that decision for yourself and overcome that. That's huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I think that's, I mean, I talked to some friends on that and, who are watching it every day.
Dude,
and it's just like that is insane. That's so unhealthy. And,
like,
the effects they have.
For sure. For sure.
And it's like your interactions with women too are just very different than if you're looking at that stuff every day.
Yep.
Compared to not. I mean, it's sexualizing, all that stuff. I feel like it's not good for you.
You know how, if you boot up your computer, it's like if every day you're looking at porn, that's what's happening every day. Like most of your interactions with a woman, let's quote unquote woman, is highly sexual in nature. And you're spending like whatever it is, 30 minutes, an hour a day looking at this. If that's a habitual thing that's happening every day, most of your interactions with women are hyper-sexualized, like your view of them at least. So then when you get out into the world, your brain auto-defaults to hyper-sexualizing women. If you're hyper-sexualizing a woman, especially one that you don't know, what's the probability that you can have like an actual human conversation?
Yeah.
You're just stuck in like monkey brain mode.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna, good luck, dude. It's not gonna happen. You're just like, it's just not gonna happen. Yeah. So overcoming that's, very, major, very significant. You have, and again, you have a huge leg up over other guys who aren't doing that or can't do that. Because radical concept, you can actually talk to women.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I saw the stat the other day. It was like OnlyFans brought in, it was like 6 billion this year. It was some crazy like absurd, that. Yeah. Like that's just so insane to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like your sexual energy as a man. I mean, I think this probably applies to women too, but especially as a guy, is like, dude, remember like Dragon Ball Z?
That's your chi.
That's your chi, dude. That's your power up chi, man. That's your life. I mean, it's your life force energy. And if you're busting that on, I mean, a daily basis, but especially a daily basis to pixels that aren't even real, you're basically telling yourself that like this fantasy, like I'm devoting my life energy to a fake fantasy, and you got a whole lot less charge to pursue the things in your life that actually matter to you.
Yeah.
Like pursuing a relationship, building that business, getting in shape, building out your social network, whatever's truly meaningful to you that will bring you fulfillment, getting in touch with God, like whatever that looks like for you. It's a lot harder to do all those things when you are just energy crept over here and you've blown it all out. And
fucks up your brain, man. Like,
completely.
I think that. You got a couple more? Or
Yeah, I have one more. I would love to hear your take on couples moving in together before marriage.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I've done with my girlfriend currently. I've seen both sides of this position. Like I have clients who tend to be more on the religious side of things, and based on their faith, it's like, we're not moving in before marriage. This is just like, we are going to be at the very least engaged or probably married. And then we will move in after that. Pros and cons to both sides. I think if you're waiting until marriage to move in, the pros are you guys are really solidly bonded together. And when you inevitably
you know what it's going to be like.
when you run into the inevitable problems of living with another human being and their annoying quirks and tendencies and their insufficiencies and all that stuff, it's like, well, too bad. You're bonded together and you swore an oath to each other, and you got to figure out a way to ride this out. So you've got that, like, what would you call it? Like a strong, like, tether, like a lifeline, a foundation that will enable you guys to persist through the nonsense that might break other relationships. So that's the pro. The con to waiting until marriage to move in would be you don't technically actually know who you're signing this deal with. You've seen this person on dates, you've seen them, maybe you've taken some trips together or something like that, but you haven't like lived with them and seen them on a day-to-day basis for an extended period of time. It's easy to be on good behavior when you're just interacting for a 2-week vacation together. But when you live together for 2 months, all of a sudden, like, you see her when she's at her different times of her cycle. You see him when he's up versus when he's down. Like, you experience more of the person. And if you're waiting until marriage until then, like, you might not entirely know who you're signing up for. And then the exact opposite would be true of if you're going to move in before marriage, would be you get to see that person and you get to see more of, like, who am I potentially signing, or rather I should say swearing an oath to do right by. I see more of this person. The con being there's a lot of couples who they see some of those negative qualities and maybe lack the gumption or the necessity to persist through and, mature, figure it out. And they might not do that if they don't have the oath already sworn and a marriage contract already signed.
Yeah.
So pros and cons, I mean, I think you soul search and you figure out what's in alignment for you, and that's your choice to make. I don't think one is necessarily better than the other.
Okay.
Dude, good
Very
questions
interesting
over there, brother.
Yeah,
good
seriously.
questions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, you both had good questions.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, hey, can we keep you longer a little bit?
Dude,
We
absolutely.
still got some questions here.
Absolutely.
Ghosting. Is there science behind it? Should we take it personally?
For the most part, no.
Okay.
No. Ghosting says a lot more about the ghoster than the ghostee, the one getting ghosted. Essentially, what ghosting is fear. It's the one who is doing the ghosting is someone who is most likely afraid to have an uncomfortable conversation. That's really all it is. Like, if you're ghosting someone who you are serious with, it's because you're afraid of having multiple conversations, processing through the emotions, disentangling that. So it's like, I'm just going to hide. I'm going to run. I'm going to avoid. I'm going to hide. And you're just avoiding that. But it's fear. And likewise, even if it was just a short-term thing, like I went on 2 dates with this person and just not feeling it, or we're just not in alignment, or I'm not attracted to them, or whatever your reasoning is. Totally fine. But if you're ghosting them, you're probably just afraid to just directly tell them, like, hey, I appreciate getting to know you. I'm not totally feeling the connection. I just don't think we're aligned in terms of our values. But I did enjoy myself and I wish you the best.
Okay.
It's just something simple like that. But a lot of people are too afraid to even say something direct like that, so they ghost.
Yeah. We've all been there, maybe a couple of times, but
Once or twice, maybe.
Yeah, maybe once,
Just a
maybe
few.
half a time. Yeah, I guess another question I had, like key to maintaining long-term attraction in a relationship. I think I picked this one up off your, off of Insta on there. But what a great question. I like it.
Key to maintaining long-term attraction. Well, I mean, first off, probably better to ask someone who's already been married for 10 years.
Yeah.
Ask that guy or girl what they've been doing.
Okay.
But I mean, some of the obvious ones would be like, are you guys still emotionally connected? Do you have decent conversations? Can you play with each other? Are you not distracting yourselves and checking out via phones or TV or porn or video games or whatever kind of thing that would disconnect you from your partner? But do you also have time alone to yourself to connect to who you are? Do you have time alone with friends without your partner? So have you kind of differentiated and cleared? How do you have you time? How do I have me time? How do you have you time? How do we have we time? And I think it's also a conscious, diligent effort. Like it's a priority. In the same way, like let's say it's your physique. If you want to be in good shape and you want to have a physique that you like and that you're proud of, it's a constant thing that you work on, and you train multiple times a week, and you look at your diet on a daily basis, and you get good sleep, and you drink your water and everything like that. And I think a lot of these principles are very similar to, do you want to maintain attraction of the long term with your partner? It's the same principle of like, well, are you talking to your partner every single day? Are you making an effort to be romantic with each other? Are you still doing let's say a date night every week, which is easy to go by the wayside when you've already been together for a few years?
Right.
But do you still make an effort to go do that? Do you still do the little things like you walk by her and you brush the back of her neck when she's not expecting it? Or you come up and you wrap your arms around his shoulders and you kiss him on the cheek unexpectedly. Like those little things compound to make massive results in terms of maintaining that attraction.
Yeah. Dude, I can't believe what you're saying right now. Like some of the stuff, I'm like,
I'm glad it's resonating.
This is great.
This is great. I'm going to listen back to this like 5 times.
No, this is great. This is great.
glad
Soak it
I
all
think
in. So
a lot of
insightful.
Men, like probably in this town too, need this, and it's so helpful for women as well. Just understanding some of the men dynamic there too. Hey, we always do a segment on the show. The segment's usually dumb and stupid, and it's silly. So we've all kind of been a douchebag maybe once or twice in our life. So I'm just going to name off a couple things. The segment is brought to you by our sponsor, by the way. So we're just going to roll a tape real quick for our sponsor. And we're back. All right, here we go. So I'm just going to name out a thing. Just let me know if it is a little bit douchey, okay?
Okay.
Okay. What about wearing a tank out in public?
When we say public, you like walking around the street, you're
It's
out at the
daytime,
bars or
dude.
something?
It's daytime. It's not even
Is it
you're not in a gym.
Is it summer at a barbecue?
No, it's not.
Is it summer at the beach?
No, it's not.
Probably kind of douchey.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Have we all been there maybe?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
happened. It's happened. Yeah. Okay. What about like wearing rings? What do you think? Like some
How many rings?
maybe too many. Maybe 2 or 3.
What's too many?
Yeah, maybe let's say 2 or 3. So I think rings can look good on people, you know, and they wear them well. What are your thoughts?
We're talking a guy wearing them?
Yeah, a guy.
Is one of these a wedding ring?
No.
Okay, so not a wedding, but he's wearing rings that aren't
Yeah,
wedding
just
rings.
wear rings. Yeah.
I think you probably cap it to about 2.
2. Okay.
That's
One-
probably the max.
One of them is their state championship ring from 20 years ago.
Oh God. Yeah, that's probably douchey.
Oh yeah. What about an anklet? We have a friend that wears an anklet everywhere.
An anklet?
Yeah, like a little.
Like there's like a little freaking charm bracelet around your
it's
anklet?
a charm bracelet actually. Yeah.
I don't even know if that's
Parker.
douchey, if that's just straight like
I
effeminate.
think his girlfriend gave it to him or something.
Okay.
And maybe it has some meaning.
Did
to
she
it.
just buy that gift for herself and he like misinterpreted?
You know
wore
what?
that,
I don't
or-
know how it got on there, but I always
Yeah.
see it on him, and he wears it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's douchey. I just think that's a little odd.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You're odd, Parker. You're odd. We love you. Gym selfies, dude, on your story, on your reels.
Dude,
whatever.
you know what? I
great.
had I was never a big, ironically, my whole business is on Instagram now, but I was never a big like social media Instagram guy forever. And I eventually did start a personal Instagram a little bit, but it was mostly just some hiking pictures of like my dog. I don't even know if there was any selfies on there.
Yeah.
And Yeah, I all of this to say I'm kind of biased in this department. I think selfies are like not the ideal pictures to be taken anyways, and especially when guys are taking them.
A guy thirst trap. It's a little rough.
It's if you're taking it and you're sending it to your girlfriend because she likes seeing you with a sick pump or something, I think that's cool. But
What if you like seeing your homies with a sick pump?
dude, you're posting that on your Instagram, I don't know, it's a little much.
I'll comment. I'll give it a like. I have yet to put a gym selfie on, but watch it. I got to get in shape first. That's the thing. Guys that fake tan.
How fake tan?
I mean, maybe they hop in the
Maybe like this guy right here.
Yeah, maybe I think I went to Planet Fitness and I hopped in the tanning bed a couple times.
Well, here's the point. Here's like I when I first saw you, I noticed you got a little bit of a tan, but it didn't look like you had a fake tan.
Okay.
So I think if it looks like it's a real tan, you're probably fine. If it looks like it's obviously fake, you're going too far.
You could tell me too.
No, it's fair enough. Yeah.
Okay.
I think same thing with like plastic surgery.
Yeah.
If you look like you've got obvious plastic surgery, probably too much.
Yeah. I think there's a sweet spot.
Yeah. Agreed.
Wearing glasses with fake or clear lenses. Like you don't have a prescription.
I can't say I've ever even thought about this. Yeah. I don't know if I've seen someone doing this even recently. Like I can't even think of an example.
A while back, but if I see a guy and like say you don't need glasses, right? But it's just style points. You know?
I thought most people were trying to get away from glasses and wear contacts and not wear glasses. I thought are glasses like they're back in again, or
I think
they're
some people pull it off. Some people, like I always just think they need glasses. But if I find out they don't need glasses, I'm like, what are we doing?
For sure. Yeah. I no comment on that one. I don't have an opinion on that. I can't even think of an example. So
beanies.
Was it cold outside? I mean, we live in Denver.
It's
it's cold, right?
It's
the
a
winter
summer
in Denver.
beanie. It's a summer beanie.
Oh, it's summer?
Yeah,
the above the ear beanies.
yeah, we did have those.
Yeah, so you're not even using this to warm your ears, which is the whole point of the beanie.
Yeah.
I mean, usually when I see a guy like that, I think of like, kind of like white dude with dreads, like Rastafarian kind, like a little bit of that type.
Yeah, he could get away with it.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't usually like those guys. So, so I would definitely vote on the doucher side.
They're probably just hiding the hairline.
Yeah, the hairline.
Actually, but that's what a baseball cap's for. If it's decent, temperature outside.
Okay.
Beanie if it's cold, but if it's hot, it's the same as like the tank out in public, but it's not that hot outside. And it's same thing with a beanie, I think. In the hot weather.
Okay, what about only thrifted clothes and they got to make a statement about it every time? Like, obviously they look good, but I hate it. I like it. Wish I could pull it off. Can't really.
I think the only thrifted clothes is cool. Like, good on you for being able to piece that together. That's sweet. But if you got to tell people about it,
that's the douche.
That's what it is. Yeah. It's like CrossFit. You can train CrossFit. It's fine. Just don't tell everyone that you train CrossFit.
In my face.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing.
It's my impression of a CrossFit guy. I'm going to get back into CrossFit when this heals up.
Yes.
That's every CrossFit. Yeah. Well, that was the end of the segment. We kept it sweet and short. Hey, I did want to ask, and this is like you probably couldn't say, but is there like a funny dating story that you've heard from a client that's just outlandish or outrageous, but if it does go against your guidelines?
I mean, I wouldn't, I'd never use with a client like personal details or name anything like that. Funny dating story. I mean, in the moment, they probably wouldn't necessarily think it's all that funny.
Yeah, it's not.
It's usually in hindsight, it's funny.
Man,
I feel like I should have more than one that come to mind, but maybe I'm just too serious and I don't laugh about it enough. I can't think of like a hilarious dating story off the top of my head.
Okay,
right now.
that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. Personally, because you have a girlfriend.
Yep.
And what's your favorite date?
Favorite date with her is we probably go we have one-on-one time, like good one-on-one time, probably out in nature. She and I are both really into hiking.
Okay.
So that's an easy one. Go out in the woods together, hike around, have a good hour out there, and then we'll go and get some food that's like mutually agreed upon, whatever that is. Could be barbecue, could be Japanese, it just doesn't really matter. And then it's just good conversation over that time, and just I think it's that mutual activity together is like a very bonding experience, like an activity together, and then there's also one-on-one communication together. So it feels to me like the best of both worlds. That would be like an ideal for me with her.
How many dates should you be going on? Like throughout the month.
If you're single and dating, you mean to find a relationship?
Or maybe if you're in a relationship, like just
I think shooting for that one per week.
one per week.
Is like and it's easier said than done. We're all busy, and I'm sure I might change my tune when you're married and you got kids, and it's even harder to get away. But maybe it's at that time it's even more important to hold the line on the one date per week because it's so easy to lose. But I think one date per week, and mind you, a date doesn't have to be we're going to frickin' Mastro's Steakhouse,
Right.
And getting super dolled up. Like it could just be we're going and getting ice cream together for half an hour. But while we're doing that, we're deeply present with one another. I'm not scrolling my phone. I'm not, thinking about something else. Like I am just here with you. And even if it's just a 20-minute coffee date, 30-minute ice cream date, whatever, I have that time with you. And that's like our check-in connection time every single week.
Okay.
I think that's like a pretty necessary
It's very intentional.
intentional anchor. That's a good way of putting it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about being single? Like, should they be putting themselves out there doing one a week? Or
Right.
I guess that maybe varies person to person.
That's exactly that.
Yeah.
It's, a super extroverted person who maybe this is like the highest priority in their life is finding the right partner. And they've got the time and the energy and the money to go on a bunch of dates. And if for them, they're having fun with it. Like I've got a client right now I can think of where, she probably goes on like 3-4 dates a week, I would say. And like, that's just kind of where she is headspace wise, where she's having fun with it. She's not miserable. She's really enjoying the process. And because of that, she's like, I'm just rolling with the momentum. Guys are really into me. They're asking me out all the time. I'm having fun with it. And so that's what works for her. Whereas for others, like let's say maybe it was the more introverted type who doesn't want to put herself out there. For her, it might not necessarily be she even has to go on a date every week, but it could be for her, it's a smaller stepping stone. Like, well, can you go and just sit at a coffee shop for an hour and a half once this week by yourself? Can you just sit out there for like, let's say an hour and you have your coffee and you read a book, or even if you scroll your phone out there, that's fine. But like if you're normally just a homebody and you wouldn't get out, and this one is you're putting yourself out there in public where you might interact with a man. If you do, that's great. If you don't, that's great too. You put yourself out there. Maybe that's like her social stepping stone that she needs.
Okay.
And she can work her way up to what feels appropriate for her lifestyle.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
Nice. I guess I wanted to see, do you believe that there is a one necessarily, or there's just multiple people you can be compatible with?
I think I don't think there's a one. There's a whole thing in like the spiritual community of, like the twin flame. And maybe you've heard of this.
Yeah.
Like there's soulmates, which is like you're a strong connection with someone.
Yeah.
And then twin flame is like the one.
Yeah.
And I think the twin flame is just you. It's the unintegrated half of your own psyche that you just haven't met yet. I think that is the only one, like who could be a perfect match for you other than the half of yourself you haven't met. That's the only half that could truly be the one. Now, I think to your point, there are some people that are significantly better fits than others, and that's a relatively small number of people, and those are more of like, let's say, a soulmate connection or something like that. I think, like for instance, when I met my girlfriend, when I saw her in person the first time, it was an instant recognition. I instantly recognized her, and I knew she was, you could say, the one. It was
Is just like that.
instantly.
Okay.
I recognized her instantly. Yes.
Wow.
It was, now could I say she's the one and only ever for all of time? Even if we broke up, I will never find another one like that?
Right.
Probably not. But is she like the one for me as so far as I can see? Hell yeah. So
It's a good feeling.
it is. Yeah, I waited a long time for her, and I feel blessed. Like it felt like, I felt like God gave me one of his daughters, like saved an angel for me. Like I really feel blessed. Yeah.
Oh.
Dude, okay, so what drew her to you and vice versa?
She had followed my account for, I think, about like 3 years or so before we ever met in person.
Okay.
And she had been in a relationship, I think, when she first found my account, but it was kind of rough, on the rocks. I can't remember which relationship it was, but she had maybe suspected he was cheating. Wasn't where she wanted to be.
Right.
And so she had followed my account and genuinely liked my advice and my perspective. And during that whole time I was building my business, I wasn't doing any dating. I was just hardcore monk mode, that's all I was doing. I was celibate for like 4 years. That's all I did. And I guess it was I met her officially in September 2023. So I was going out she originally was living in England. She was in the London area, had been out there for 10 years for her whole schooling. And I was in California, just moved to Denver at the time. And I was going out to England for a family wedding, like a cousin's wedding. And I knew she was out in London. And I had seen her profile in my followers. And there was something that drew me to her. Like, she had a private profile most of the time. I couldn't even see her pictures other than the profile. And I don't know what it was. There was plenty of times where I would put up stories and, you'd see who's looked at your stories. Mm-hmm. And I would scroll through. I didn't follow her or anything. She followed me. I never followed her. And I would scroll through just to see if she had seen my stories. I'd never had any interaction with her, never spoken to her, never even seen her pictures. But something was drawing me to her profile, as bizarre as that sounds. And finally, I knew she was in London, and I was going out there, and I was like, oh, I'm going to be out there in 2 months. I better start talking to her if I have any intention of ever meeting her, kind of thing. So I slid into her DMs, and she left me on red, just didn't respond. And I think she thought it was like either someone working for me or it was like an automation first reaching out to her. She told me after the fact, but yeah. So it was like maybe a month later. She happened to be a public profile, and she had some stories up that I can interact with. And she was hiking in the Tatras Mountains of Slovenia, or is it Slovakia? She's going to kill me if I mix those two up. She was hiking out there, and it was like I moved to the Denver area just for hiking. Like I didn't realize this was something she was into, and I slid into the DMs again based on her stories and started talking to her based on that, and we got the conversation started from there. And I was heading out to England like a week later, and I asked her out when I was at the airport to see, like, are you free this Sunday for dinner? And that's how we met. And kind of the first meeting, like because I'd never seen her in person, hadn't even talked to her on the phone. We just had some WhatsApp back and forth. And I met her in what is it called now? Damn, can't remember the name of the square. I remember the restaurant, but anyways, it's this big square. And there's a bunch of restaurants in there. And you've got kind of that like Roman style, like arches around the square. And she was waiting. She got there. I was late as usual. And she was leaning against the pillar. And I approached from the side. She didn't see me coming. And I saw her, and I didn't see her face, but I just knew it was her. And she's standing there in this like floral dress, and her hair is kind of to the side, and she's like texting on her phone or something, and she's leaning against the pillar. And I see her from the side, and my first thought is like, oh God, like I just can already, I can already tell like this is going to be like, oh God, here we go. Mm-hmm. And circled around, and I approached her from the front, and I walked up and said, hi. And she took off her sunglasses, and we locked eyes. And as soon as we locked eyes, the very first thing that ran through my head was, I'm fucked.
You're in trouble, buddy.
I'm fucked. Yeah, that was the first thing I thought. Wow. Yeah. And it was like that was the instant recognition part. Like we locked eyes, and I instantly recognized her. I didn't know. My next thought was, I don't know if she is my dream or my nightmare.
Yeah.
I don't know which one you are, but I know you are the next chapter for sure. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how else I knew that. It was like just this, And I'm like, well, whether you're the angel or the demoness, I'm going forward with this, and here we go. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, that's awesome. Hey, so like first of all, that's a great story. I'm sure she's gonna watch that back too and just be like, she's like, I can't believe you forgot it was Slovenia. Yeah, that's great. So you put on master classes though, or just webinars?
Yeah, webinars.
And some of them are free, right?
Oh, most of them are free. Okay. Yeah, I've done a couple paid, but it's mostly free.
Okay, so if somebody wanted to sign up and they got some value from what you were saying on this, I know I did. I mean, like I'm still thinking about some of those and the answers that you had, but where would they go and sign up for this?
Yeah, typically if you find me on Instagram, there's the whole link in bio. You go there.
We're gonna tag all that. Yep. How often do you do those?
It depends. I mean, last year I did 25 webinars last year, so that was basically like 2 a month.
Okay.
But this year I've got a bigger book of business, and I don't have as much time and energy, so it's probably going to be once a month to once every 2 months.
Okay.
It's probably going to be something more like that. They're fun. They're enjoyable. They're also energy intensive and time consuming. And I only got so much to go around. So I'm going to kind of taper them back a bit.
Okay, that's awesome. And then, so you can just go on and sign up for them on the link in bio, everything there. Okay.
Yep, link in bio. It's usually the first link. I don't have it up there currently because I don't have one scheduled, but normally it's going to be the first link right at the top there. It's going to be free. Like 99% of the time, it'll be free.
Okay.
And it's just email, sign up.
And then I strongly ask you guys, go follow this guy's page because it is just a wealth of knowledge on there too. And I know just about the parent thing on there. That was your first one. Like I connected with that right away, and we didn't even get into that. But that's very much just a lot to learn on there too. And
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So kind of a last question, I guess we'll wrap it up. We ask everybody this, and it's different for you, I guess, because you're not single, not spotlighting you for that, but like, why are you a catch, Why are you a catch? We ask everybody that. Or why were you to your girlfriend at least,
Why was I to her? To quote her, she said I had a combination of a lot of rare qualities.
Yeah.
She didn't
Humble brag on yourself, dude. Humble brag on yourself.
She didn't exactly elaborate on there. Some of these are making assumptions, but I guess it was a combination of like, I do have a lot of experience with women, but I put all of that, most of that to the side to then do the exact opposite. And I lived literally like a monk for 4 years at my parents' house while I was building my business, doing a bunch of inner work, going down into the depths of the psyche and the soul. And it's not to say that it's not an ongoing process and it's not going to be indefinite, because it will be. But I like to think that I made a lot of progress through that and have become much more of who it is that I want to be and internally aligned to the man that I'm proud to be. Okay. So I like to think that was the at least one of the compelling reasons as to what drew her to me.
Okay.
And I'm sure there was some other, maybe even more superficial reasons, but I guess those are for her to know.
Yeah. Okay. We'll have to, next time we have you on, we'd love to have you on again. Because I feel
dude, I will definitely, it's super fun doing this in person. You guys are close. It's nice to come down here. It's great meeting you both. Like, I definitely want to be back.
This has been amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very insightful.
I'll definitely be back.
Yeah. We should have, maybe other people on too or something like during, I don't know.
Group dialogue.
Ideas
like
are
a
going in my head.
one-on-one session.
Yeah. Maybe not a one-on-one. That might be too a little personal. But just something like we could call in and it'd be Devin and be like, hey, we're going to go to our correspondent here or something. I don't know. I'm just trying to think. I'm trying to think. But hey, I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you guys.
That was a lot of fun, man. Wealth of knowledge. It was fantastic. I mean, just good learning back, and I'm excited to watch it back too. So.
Hey, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you for having me. I'm definitely looking forward to the next one.
Of course.
Awesome.
All right,
awesome. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Yeah, all done, brother.
Thanks, guys.
Sweet, dude.